haven't done one of these in a while, I like to do a little intro for those of you who don't know. Women kind of are familiar with this with YouTube, but a GWRM is a get ready. No, I did it. I have dyslexia, so forget it. GRWM. Get ready with me. So I always have some clips, put up and, or ready. Sometimes I don't even know what I've queued up, and I'm getting ready to go out into storage, into the world to do some work at the historical archive. So I'm not going to get too dolled up, but I wanted to put on a little bit of makeup and discuss some politics. So that's what we'll do. Play some clips. I put on my makeup and we talk. And I know there's a lot of guys who actually like the makeup part, even though they don't want to admit it. So let's go to my first clip. I believe this is almost all Dave Smith and Michael Malice. And of course, I always have to throw in a little bit of Ben Shapiro. And as usual, I don't like playing clips where it's all, yes, queen, yes. I like playing clips that I disagree with. So I think some people might get the false impression from the clips I play that I disagree with Dave Smith all the time. I do not. I just like playing the clips in which I disagree because that's more interesting rather than, a mutual circle jerk. So let's see what I potentially queued up that maybe I don't agree with.
But I do think that there is this this reactionary impulse in right-wing America, and that at times it's helpful and good because often what they're reacting against is the cathedral, and thank God there are some people who are reactionary and opposed to the kind of ruling elite. But what happens now is that the narrative, it's not as if the narrative from the corporate press is that we can't criticize cops. That is certainly not the narrative. They're not, it's actually, it's a trickier narrative than that, because it's not as if their narrative is we support the state and the enforcement arm of the state. The narrative from the corporate press, which is more sophisticated than that, that's what you would get out of a North Korean regime or something like that with state media. What you get out of our corporate press is a far more sophisticated narrative, which is that you can criticize cops all day long, however, only on racial grounds. Yeah. That is the only appropriate criticism of cops, is just that they're racist. And what's brilliant about this narrative is that it keeps the population fighting each other and not uniting against the cops. It's actually a great protector of the police state in many ways, because it's like, oh no, now we let the plebs argue about racism rather than say, oh, we're also going to show videos of the cops killing these white people and make those big stories, and then be like, oh look, they do it to black people, they do it to white people. Hey, what's the common denominator here? Kind of seems like it's a cops versus citizens issue, and there's a lot more citizens than there are cops. So they very carefully control that, and what happens is that the right-wingers who are reactionary, they see this and they go, well, no, it's bullshit. This kid was a thug. Yeah. So now I'm reacting against the corporate press, but you're doing it in the way that they want. Just like Curtis Yarvin was saying, they want you to be a Nazi. Like, that's the perfect, look, was the corporate press upset that Charlottesville happened? No, they were thrilled. Joe Biden was running on that as of last year. It was like, perfect. That's the perfect way to paint the other side. See, they're just what we told you. And so you're falling into their hands, I think, a lot more than meaningfully resisting them.
I have to put it on mute while while the clips are playing. And I want to queue up a few other things, but right now I'm just getting my foundation on. And I actually would like to interact with Carolyn's comments, because I thought that was really interesting. But I'm trying to get my mouse. I've got a lot of screens, and I want to put it up on the screen. There we go. It's up on the screen. So Carolyn says, I'm a woman that does not want to, and I've got my glasses on, I'm old, and I don't want to mess it up, that does not want to watch you put on makeup. I don't use makeup. I think the boudoir detracts from the seriousness of your opinions. IMHO. Well, I do appreciate your opinion, though I disagree with it. I think there's something for everyone. Those in the YouTube who watch a lot of YouTube videos know that this is kind of a genre that's taken off. One of the biggest YouTube channels right now is Monday Murder, Mystery, and Makeup with Bailey Sarian. She's so awesome, and she's such a beauty. And I find that really interesting. But not everyone's content is going to be for everyone. So you want to know who I make my content for? Me. If I like my content, I'm happy with it. If other people happen to like it, that's great. But I don't make it to please other people. And I think we do more success in life because if it's something I don't like doing, then it just won't get done. So while I appreciate that, Carolyn, you could probably just listen to the sound and get the content if you like the content. But otherwise, this particular show, which is just one of many I do, might not be the right one for you. I'm not a big makeup person myself, but I do enjoy it every once in a while. And I just find it kind of funny because this is, I believe, the only political Get Ready With Me. And I just got a kick out of that because there are so many of these crime shows that are Get Ready With Me, which to me, I don't know. I found that juxtaposition weird, like talking about these terrible killers and Bailey's just making herself gorgeous. Well, she was gorgeous before makeup. So I just found that like kind of weird. So I'm like, what would be even weirder? Talking politics while putting on your makeup. So that's why I do it. And I've just found that some of the guys do secretly like watching it, not because they want to learn how to put on makeup. I think they're fascinated by some of the rituals their wives go through. And I explain some of the things and they find it interesting. Like the amount of work we go through, such as I had to put on my primer and now I'm putting on my foundation before we can even start anything. So I hope you can put up with the makeup part, Carolyn, but I do super appreciate your opinion. Now, going on to what Dave Smith said, I know sometimes when I do these clips, they're a bit jumpy because I did pull them out of a larger context. But I found what he said so fascinating, and actually I agree with him here, is the way we're being manipulated. Like, we're talking about police brutality, but we're not really talking about police brutality. The corporate media has turned us against each other. So they highlight only certain police brutality and then make the people of the demographic that they're not highlighting get defensive, make them then attack the demographic they are highlighting without realizing this is friendly fire, folks. You two are on the same side, the corporate media, and the police state is the enemy. We see this a lot with Ben Shapiro, who just feels these knee-jerk, need to tell us what bad people these victims are, as if you have to be a perfect victim. And I love the way Dave put it. Oh, they don't want us to say, oh, here they are brutalizing this black guy. And equally, here they are brutalizing this white guy. What's the common denominator here? Police brutality, which occurs against everybody. Now, I am not going to say, and a lot of libertarians will disagree with me here, to the person being brutalized, it's equal. Like, person being brutalized, there's like, it doesn't make a damn difference what color your skin is when you're the person brutalized. Your life is your life. But if we're going to pull back into a socio-political context, there is a different context in the wider history of this country to a black person being brutalized. And they know it, and we'll be stupid if we don't recognize that and try to pretend as if history is colorblind. We personally can be. We can try to move towards that society, but we are not there yet. I'm listening to a book right now called The Adult's Guide to Drug Use, and it's from this doctor who studies drugs. As a scientist, the government gives them drugs to give to people and study. And he finally came out of the closet as an unashamed drug user himself. And he's advocating for the normalization of healthy drug use. But I'm going to do a whole other show on that because I happen to agree with him. But he talked about how he's treated differently when they go places with his white colleagues because he's a black guy with dreadlocks. I'm sorry, if you're a white person and do not realize that there is still disparate treatment, I just have to ask you to open your eyes. This doesn't require you to become some kind of social justice warrior. It does not require you to hate yourself because you're white and be less white and all that bullshit. To recognize there are some differences. So there is a cultural difference to a black person being brutalized by the police. Now, I just wanted to get that out of the way to now back up to agree with his point. White people are getting brutalized by the police as well, and that sucks, okay? And the fact that that's not being highlighted is a problem. But as white people who might be upset that that's not being highlighted, don't blame black people for wanting to have attention to things happening in their own community and act like it's robbing you of something. Blame the corporate media who's not giving equal attention. So in order to give some attention, because there's one case of brutality against a white man that I think is going to haunt me for the rest of my life, and I don't think it's gotten nearly enough attention. And I didn't queue it up, but I do have it downloaded, and I'd like to play it and perhaps talk about it. But trigger warning if we use those. Let's just say if you this is going to be the Daniel Schaefer incident. If you finally were able to get that out of your head and not have nightmares about it, you might not want to watch for a little bit because I'm going to play it. If you're okay with seeing it again, then cool. Why? I can't find my mouse. You know when you have two screens and you lose your mouse? Okay, here we go. So I just got to find where I saved this on my computer. I didn't have time to save it ahead of time. Is it in movies? Yes. Okay, 4K downloader. Mesa Police. Okay, here we go.
Stop right there! Stop! Stop! Get on the ground, both of you! Lay down on the ground! Lay down on the ground! Who else is in the room?
Nobody.
Nobody else is in the room?
Nobody.
Are you positive?
Nobody. Absolutely positive.
Okay. Okay, young man, listen to my instructions and do not make a mistake. You are to keep your legs crossed.
Okay, I wanted to stop it for a second because I do want to provide some commentary because most of us have seen this, uninterrupted. First of all, God, please don't let me die on ugly hotel carpet. I can't go into a hotel. Every time I go into a hotel, all I think about is this. Because the visual aesthetics of this whole thing are just so ordinary, and then the most unordinary, horrible thing happens. The juxtaposition just really disturbs me. But the power trip of this man, holding this deadly weapon on this guy, and the way he's talking to him, like he's an animal.
You understand me?
Yes, sir.
You are to put both of your hands palm down straight out in front of you. Push yourself up to a kneeling position. I said keep your legs crossed!
I'm sorry. I just pushed
I didn't say this is a conversation. Put your hair! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not...
Okay, this poor guy's terrified. And this guy he's getting off on this power. I mean, am I the only one who feels that way, who sees this? It's almost like a perverse, murderous game of Simon Says. And you fuck up, you die.
Put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
How demeaning. I have you on your knees, begging for your life, basically, terrified to make a wrong move. And crawl, you miserable worm, crawl towards me for your miserable life. That's what I hear. I'm so repulsed.
Yes, sir.
Don't talk!
That's actually not the clip I wanted, but I couldn't download the one I wanted, though I'm glad it was this one. I actually wanted to find the one of him actually shooting because the horror of it. But then again, I might not even be able to continue this show if I did that. I'm already choking up. Awful. But I did pull up another clip that I haven't seen. Though almost in honor of him, I feel like I should have showed really the actual brutality of it where he got shot. It was just ridiculous. But I haven't. I have one of his wife after this. I haven't watched this. I just figured it's 2 minutes. Let's cue it up. I'm curious. And that cop's living his best life now,
Last week we showed you graphic video of a controversial 2016 police shooting. The Mesa, Arizona officer was fired for violating police procedures, but acquitted last week of charges he murdered 26-year-old Daniel Shaver of Texas. Today, Shaver's widow talked to Adriana Diaz.
It took people watching my husband die, a very horrible, inhumane death, for people to care.
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen!
For 2 years, this video of Daniel Shaver's last moments was sealed from the public.
Don't talk!
It was an execution. You had a man begging for his life, and he was shot 5 times for what? For his elbow coming up too high? For being confused? For being compliant? Why did he deserve to die? He didn't.
The video was released last Thursday after jurors found Officer Philip Brailsford not guilty.
Just don't understand how anybody could watch that video and then say not guilty, that this is justified, that Daniel deserved this, and that Philip Brailsford doesn't deserve to be held accountable for his actions.
What do you make of him saying he had a split second to decide what to do when he thought your husband was pulling a gun?
I think that this goes back to the Mesa Police Department's training, if this is really how they're trained.
Shaver had no gun on him, but police found 2 pellet rifles he used for his pest control job in his hotel room. Sweet said the hardest day of her life was telling her daughters their father wasn't coming home. Yesterday, she received a phone call from her 8-year-old school.
She tried choking herself while she was at school and told her friend that she wanted to die. So I spent all last evening with her in the hospital, getting her psychiatric help.
What did Natalie say to you when you saw her?
She told me that she wanted to be with her dad.
Sweet says important information was not included in the trial, like the former officer's past record of excessive force. She has filed a wrongful death civil suit and is calling on the Department of Justice to investigate. Jeff?
Adriana Diaz tonight. Thank you, Adriana.
Okay, here we go. Woof. That got me. So, yeah, it happens to all of us, but the corporate media really plays up one angle over the other. And, yeah, and Janice, if you've seen the full video, I mean, it's literally right when they cut off in that one video and put the thing that says he was shot 5 times. Like, it was literally right after that. That's all that guy did to provoke him. So Dave Smith has it right. What is the common denominator? And am I outraged that more outrage wasn't shown over this. Yeah, I am. I'm outraged. But I don't blame the Black community. Their outrage, it's not like there's a limited pie of outrage, and the outrage over George Floyd is taking away from the outrage pie for Daniel Shaver. So we need to remember that and not make other victims of police brutality and of our police state and the fact that the war against drugs is a war against us turn on each other. Remember what Dave said. The common denominator is the police. The common denominator is our policies, is the laws. Don't be worried, trying to find the perfect victim in the Black community and being mad at them because they're getting the attention. Let me reverse it upon you a little bit. A lot of white people get very upset about this whole idea of quote-unquote white privilege, and I get it, because what's called our privilege is what just everybody should get. I really don't think it should be framed as white privilege. I think it should be framed as minority disadvantage to show it's not that we're getting something extra, it's that they're getting something less, and they should be getting what everyone is getting. You shouldn't feel bad for getting what human beings should get. And that's the way this narrative is painted. Like, we should feel guilty for being treated decently. So yeah, we shouldn't turn it around and claim they're getting coverage privilege for their victims being given more attention, rather than being mad at them for having that quote-unquote privilege. We should realize it's not a privilege. That's the type of attention that should be happening for any person murdered by the police. And I don't care that cop got off. No, he murdered that guy. He murdered him. Simple as that. Perhaps, if, I'm not in favor of riots, but listen, when cops get off for things like that, do you blame? I mean, there's something that my pastor used to say about things that happen in life. It doesn't make it right, but it makes it understandable. And I think a little bit of that could go a long way in trying to understand the pain of other communities.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they want to